Madam Chair, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Madam Chair, when we look at some of the things that have caused damage over the years, you were here at a time about a day or two after the carrier layoffs occurred, if you remember that. And those layoffs in my home state brought to light a troubling pattern of corporate executives prioritizing immediate profits over the long-term health of companies. This short-term mindset may be due to the relentless pressure of activist investors or poorly constructed executive compensation goals, but it has resulted in executives spending trillions to placate shareholders with stock buybacks and dividends. It has also occurred at the expense of workers and communities and long-term economic value creation. And new research finds that companies focused on the long term by reinvesting in the company far outperform their short-term peers in economic and financial success. I'm wondering if you agree that short-termism, for want of a better term, could hurt economic and financial value over the long term.
So I don't know of any rigorous work on this, but I certainly agree with you that focusing on long-term investments that have significant payoff for companies and for the economy is important to the health of companies and the economy.
Do you agree that the management and boards of public companies, they should be stewards of the whole company, including its workers and its long-term health? Do you think that makes sense?
Most companies understand that their workforces are very important assets and their success requires having a focus on their human capital that's a firm asset.
At the same time that those workers were let go, the CEO made over $10 million. The previous CEO before him, when he left, like it was about 2 years before, on his last day received a payoff of over $150 million. And that's why the American people are so angry. And they think the system is so rigged that you go, we're going to fire between Carrier and UTEC in Huntington, we're going to fire 2,100 people who have already agreed to a two-tiered wage. They already agreed to a two-tiered wage structure. But we're going to pay $150 million to our CEO on his last day. Does that not seem like a perversion of the American economic system to you?
I think it's something that makes people mad.
Yeah. What would you recommend, in your infinite wisdom, to us here in Congress as some steps, if you have any ideas, to change the short-term thinking that we see?
Sir, that's really outside the domain of our responsibilities, and I believe it's a set of policies that members of Congress and the administration should be thinking about.
Well, I was thinking that with your experience and your abilities and talents, all good advice is welcome. When a small town is devastated by job losses, as has happened to so many towns across this country, where you look up and one day you have a company making windshields for one of the big three, and the next day that windshield company is in Mexico. It impacts the future of that town. And it's not just the jobs that dry up, but the economic development, the revenue base, the secondary impact on other businesses, gas stations, restaurants, grocery stores. How does a small town succeed when it feels like so many of these economic currents have been against them for so long? You've driven through some of these downtowns, I'm sure, over the years and seen the devastation that's occurred.
I mean, I think these are extremely difficult trends for towns to cope with, and many towns in rural areas have been very badly affected by these developments.
Here's what also happens, just so you know when you make these decisions. You know, as these workers are laid off, their children who are dreaming about going to college, dreaming about the best schools and dreaming about their chance to make it, mom or dad comes home and the funds just aren't there. The money just isn't there to give them the shot to do it. And I worry about the intergenerational impact of this whole situation, too. Have you seen this intergenerational impact and its impact on success? And is there anything the Fed can do in terms of policies to try to make it so our next generation of leaders have a shot?
Well, I mean, our tools to deal with the issues that you're describing are limited, and we generally feel that the best contribution we can make is to use our tools to create overall strong economic conditions, a labor market that is generating enough jobs that there are opportunities there, but it doesn't always mean that the jobs are exactly what people want in the places that they are. And I think Congress and the administration need to think about ways in which they can foster greater inclusion, greater mobility, provide people with the tools that if your father lost his job in a good manufacturing job, that the child can get a strong education and can get a job maybe in a sector of the economy that is growing more strongly, that has strong job opportunities. And there certainly are things we can do to foster greater equality across generations.
And I'll finish with this. I guess, and this would be to the CEOs who are thinking about this or the short-termism, is one of my heroes in life, and you may have heard of him, was Father Hesburgh. And the advice he gave me was, don't do what's always easy. Just do what's right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.